What's going on, guys, and welcome to our special edition episode. We meant to do one before the World Juniors, and we couldn't get it to line up. So we are here to recap the tournament and kind of talk about the United States and the other countries in the World Juniors. I'm here with Kayla and Jake. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing really good. I just got this new webcam, so I'm hoping, it pays off. How are you guys?
I'm good.
I'm pretty good. I'm upset about the way the tournament ended, but what can you do about that? Move on. Watching the women's U18s. USA hockey is a never-ending cycle, and I'm just part of it.
Well, I'm doing good. Besides the weather, we had a lot of rain yesterday, some more rain today, and now it's cold again. So that's just a part of living in New England, I suppose, or Michigan or anywhere else that's really cold. Jacob, you're part of New England now, aren't you? Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, southwestern Connecticut. That's.
Hey, Connecticut's part of New England.
It is. I'm still in the New York TV market, but technically this is New England. So.
Okay. All right, so we're going to recap the tournament. Jake, you want to go into that a little bit, and then you can hand it off to me.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of good storylines that went on, and we'll talk about that later. But in the World Juniors, you expect the unexpected, and the Final Four turned out to be the U.S., Finland, Russia, and Switzerland. U.S. took down Russia 2-1. Finland unloaded on Switzerland as they were expected to. And then the Finland-U.S. game, I've said this for a while, there hasn't been a bad World Junior final in over a decade.
Yeah.
And Finland took a 2-0 lead. The U.S. came back to tie it at 2 in the third, and then with a little over a minute to go, Capo Kakko, the presumptive number 2 pick in this year's NHL draft, scored the winning goal on a backhander on a rebound to give Finland, I believe, their 5th World Junior title.
Yeah, Finland was good. I mean, you got to give them the credit. Team USA, I personally don't think they started on time. I mean, they had some good shifts here and there, but they didn't really wake up until the third period, and then they tied the game up. And then, like we were talking about before, we were on here, they gave it right back. So it's that kind of just ended up happening. But all in all, I think the tournament itself was great. I mean, there was very entertaining hockey. Not even just the United States games, but watching Canada go down, we'll talk about in a little bit, and seeing the Swedes, how good they are, and their streak and everything like that. But the tournament itself it always lives up to it. And attendance-wise, the tournament was probably, just from an eyeball test, one of the most attended tournaments I've seen in this World Junior Championship, because the games in Vancouver were absolutely, they were mobbed, and then you had the games in Victoria that were also totally mobbed and rooting against the United States. So really give the people of Canada the credit, because they really did pack those stadiums for those games, pretty much all of them too, from what I've seen anyways. Would you agree?
Well, it is Canada's tournament. It should be noted, in the next 12 years, they are hosting the tournament 5 more times, including 2 years from now in Edmonton.
Well, it's because they fund it, and
yeah, pretty much. TSN.
Without this tournament, without Canada funding this tournament and stuff, this tournament wouldn't be what it is. So I mean, as much as it's unfair, and some people that are American and stuff don't like it, but without Canada funding it and stuff, it's just not what it is right now. And so,
I would just add, regardless if we like it or not, at least they always, bring it at every time they play. I mean, it doesn't even have to be Canada playing. Like, the atmosphere in the building is always amazing.
Oh, it was so pro whoever was playing against Team USA. Steve Nelson, the guy that was announcing for the NHL Network, he even said, he goes, in the first game, he goes, well, I don't know if this is there's a lot of Slovaks here, or if it's just a anti-Team USA crowd. And by the end of the tournament, he's like, well, he goes, the Canadian fans are just here and they're rooting against Team USA. It doesn't matter who they're playing. So,
I thought Steven Nelson did a great job.
I agree.
First year calling the tournament. I hope he gets another crack at it next year.
I agree. I think he did a tremendous job. I think he could be the mainstay like Steve Mears was for a few years there.
Yeah, hopefully. Mears parlayed that into an NHL job with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So
yes,
yeah.
Right. Well, any other thoughts on the tournament itself? Besides what we're going to be talking about here?
Well, the Canadian booing of everything Team USA, I have heard, really started in 2006 when they booed the U.S. in their semifinal against Russia, and that was also in Vancouver, which was kind of shocking to the players at the time. But if you hear the players talk about it now, they love getting booed by Canada.
They expect it, and that's a good thing. It's like Minnesota playing against North Dakota. If there's a regional in North Dakota and the Sioux aren't there, they're booing Minnesota because that's the rival. It's just kind of how it goes.
Right.
Yeah, you can't expect it. Just know that we live in your heads all the other times.
I'm sure they love it. They probably thrive off of it, I mean, it's better to be booed by, thousands and thousands of fans like that than just be completely silent. I mean, if they weren't getting any reaction, then something would be wrong.
Exactly. Yeah.
The one downside I felt was, I think this was the first time in a decade plus that the U.S. did not play Canada at all in the tournament, either in the preliminaries or the medal round, and that kind of has me feeling empty, but I still got a chance next year.
I called it a crime. I was talking to one of my friends. I looked at the group last year, and then I looked at it again. I'm like, are you serious? The United States and Canada aren't in the same group? So that means if they're not in the medal round against each other, then they don't play at all, which ended up happening, which is an absolute crime that Canada and the United States don't play in group play. That's absolute insanity, I think.
No, I would agree with that. I mean, as much as I can't stand it when Canada does beat us, there's nothing better than facing them and then us winning, so
right.
Canadians would agree too.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
It used to be Canada and Russia were the rivals, or the U.S. and Russia, and every team wanted to beat Russia. But for me, and for, I guess, people of my age, and Canada's the team you grew up wanting to beat. They're the hockey enemy.
Yeah, well, a lot of that started with the 2002 gold medal game between Canada and the United States, and then that continued with the 2010 game in Vancouver, the overtime Crosby winner. And as much as this isn't obviously an Olympic show, which hopefully at some point we'll be able to have one, but that just, it makes you hate Canada more and more, and then seeing them beat you on a national stage like that, and then in the World Juniors they were dominant for years and years. So, and then the United States to win some gold, so that makes Canada hate us, we hate them, and that just makes a perfect rivalry.
Well, 3 of the 4 World Juniors the U.S. has won, they have gone through Canada in the final, and the one where that didn't happen, they faced them in the semis.
Right. Is that all you guys want to talk about this tournament wise? Is there anything like outline?
I think we're saying a lot of the same things at the moment. So
yeah, I agree. All right, so we're going to move on to our Team USA thoughts. Obviously Team USA lost in the gold medal game to the Finns. It was a good game. They came back. They were down 2-0. 2 quick goals. I think it was a minute 51 or something like that. Jake, do you have any thoughts on Team USA and kind of where they go from here?
When I saw the roster and I saw a few of the names left off on the defensive end, I thought, well, they're going to try and let Quinn Hughes and Mikey Anderson run the entire defense themselves. And for large part, it was more of a team effort this year, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that and see the plan of John Van Beesbrook and Mike Hastings actually go about as well as they expected. And even if it ended up with a silver medal, I'll take the process over the results here, and the process was very good and alleviated all my concerns.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, obviously there were some players we were talking before. Quinn Hughes didn't have the greatest tournament in the world, but his brother Jack Hughes, when he played, was tremendous. And, Ryan Paling led the team in points. He was good. Caden Primo, I thought, was outstanding, especially once he knew his role. It's Dave Starman always talks about how, like, this tournament, like before the tournament starts, you don't really know your role, and then once you kind of start to learn your role, you start excelling. Like I always remember Johnny Gaudreau in 2013, like how he was kind of a fringe third, fourth liner, and then by the time the tournament was over, he was the first line winger, and I believe he led the tournament in scoring. And so I mean that's what I remember. That's just a big thing in this tournament.
Primo for me. The thing is, I thought he was the number one goalie coming in, but USA Hockey elected to initially start with Kyle Kaiser, and no disrespect to Kaiser, he's a great goalie in his own right. But usually the person who starts the opening game is the main starter throughout the tournament, and that wasn't the case this year. They alternated Kaiser and Primo through the preliminary round and elected to go with Primo through the medal round, and I thought Primo did a great job, and even with a silver medal, and he can't feel too good because he was the goalie for the Ivan Holinka tournament a couple years ago, which the U.S. lost controversially. But I'm very impressed with him, and I think he's going to be a very good goaltender in the future.
I agree. Yeah, I think Caden Primo, he's drafted by Montreal, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Canadians have to be happy with what they saw, and as Northeastern fans were last February when they won their first Beanpot in school history. So
yeah, that was
something else, I'll tell you.
Yeah, for me, Primo, he was like the main player that stepped up in that gold medal game. I mean, all the other players, they kind of stepped up, I guess, especially in the third, but they kind of all looked shaky to me. They looked like maybe a little nervous, but he definitely was standing on his head with some of those saves. So
I thought Primo's best game was the semifinal against Russia, but I also thought that was Jack Hughes' best game. Hughes has been injured a little bit. He got banged up in the pre-tournament games and then against Slovakia and came back for the medal round. And the score sheets will show you 4 assists in 4 games, but I thought every game he played, maybe with the exception of the final, I thought he was the best American on the ice at all times.
Yeah, you know who really surprised me? I didn't know a lot about him because he doesn't play college hockey. He's playing, I believe, for Niagara in the OHL. As Jason Robertson, he did really good in the tournament. He actually really stood out to me. I believe he had 7 points or something like that in 7 games. So he was a point per game guy. And I thought he stood out pretty good out there. I also think Ryan Paling obviously stood out. And Chmelevski, for like how invisible he looked at times, he did score some goals and he did put up 9 points or something like that. No, 7 points, sorry. So Chmelevski is a good player, but here's the thing with Chmelevski. You expect him to do that because he's already playing in the AHL. He's playing with men now and not playing in college or playing.
I think he's in the O. Is he not?
No, he's playing for
Ottawa?
the San Jose Barracuda.
Maybe he played there at the end of last year.
Yeah. So.
Anyways. Yeah, well, I like Chmelevski. I really liked Robertson. Robertson has been a personal favorite of mine.
Oh, you're right. He is playing for Ottawa. He is playing for Ottawa in the OHL. My bad.
Robertson, he hasn't always had the greatest relationship with USA Hockey. This is the first official tournament he has played in wearing the USA sweater, but I've long noticed his talent, and he's a fun player to watch when he's on his game.
He absolutely is. Do you have anything that really stands out to you tournament-wise for Team USA? Like maybe not player wise, but like moment wise? Do you have like a favorite moment?
I want to signal one more player if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to shout out Mikey Anderson, who is the defenseman from University of Minnesota Duluth, who is the captain of the team, Elliot King's pick. He is the first player who is not a member of the national team development program to be the captain since Derek Stepan in 2010. And I thought Anderson was the team's best defenseman, even over Quinn Hughes, who came in with the reputation. Anderson, about 5'11", not huge, but he definitely controlled the offense, controlled the power play. A lot of fun to watch. As for singular moments, when you don't play Canada, it's not really as fun. But the signature moment for me, the moment where I thought, you know what, the U.S. really looks legit here, is when they came back from 4-0 down in the third period to tie the game against Sweden in the preliminary rounds. Ryan Poehling got the hat trick, including the tying goal in the final minute. And even Chris Peters, the only person who knows more about USA hockey than I do, he said he had never seen anything like that. And although the U.S. would lose the game in overtime, I think that was a big momentum builder for the team as a whole, and showed them, even when we're down 4-0 in the third period, we can make this a game. We can compete with anyone.
Yeah, that's huge. That they weren't going to mail it in, and that's why, like, when they went down 2-0 in that gold medal game to Finland, I'm like, I turned to my buddy. I'm like, hey Ryan, this game is not over yet, so don't. We're not going anywhere yet. This game isn't. And sure shit, they score a goal to make it 2-1, and then they tie it up at 2, and then the rest is kind of history there. But them tying that game against Sweden obviously has to be the star moment of the tournament itself. Then the loss. I haven't been royally pissed at a World Juniors game in a long time. And when Adam Boqvist scored that game winner in overtime, I was like actually pissed. I'm like, are you serious? That really happened? Like it didn't feel like it was right. Like I felt like the U.S. deserved a better fate in that game. But I guess you can't start playing with 10 minutes left in the third period and expect to win.
I'll say I actually was not that pissed after that game. I'm sure I would have been if it were a medal round game, but I was thinking, you know what? That's a loss I could take. If we show the resilience like that, we can learn more.
No, I mean more at the result, not.
Yeah, really sure. You do all that and you end up losing. I get it.
It was very anticlimactic.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure Sweden wasn't very happy having to win that game in overtime.
No, they weren't. But oh
well. So is that all you want to talk about USA wise? Do you guys want to talk about next year's tournament at all?
Should we do that a little bit later after discussing the other teams?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. So so the next theme of our next segment is going to be upsets. So the host nation Canada went down against Finland 2-1 in overtime, and that basically ended. No, it did end the tournament for Team Canada. Maxime Comtois had a penalty shot in overtime and a chance to win it, and he did not do so. He received a lot of criticism from a lot of Canadian fans and kids and everything like that. These kids, and that kind of brings up a bigger discussion here. These kids for Team Canada are under a microscope. There's no Olympics and there hasn't been a World Cup of Hockey in a little bit. So this is the highest version of international hockey that happens every single year. And, Team Canada is under scrutiny, whether it's, a U18 tournament or it's the World Juniors or it's the Olympics or whatever. So is this concerning that Team Canada and players like this have to be under this kind of pressure, especially only being, 17, 18, and 19, even 20-year-olds?
I think it's I think it's pretty sad, the pressure that they have to face. I mean, obviously there's always going to be pressure in international games. I mean, this goes back years and years and years. I mean, if you guys remember like the Summit Series between Canada and Russia, I mean, the crowd in Montreal was booing them hardcore, and Esposito had to actually like tell them like, hey guys, chill out. We're trying here. We're trying our best. You guys got to be patient with us. So, I mean, this is like nothing new. When it comes to Canada and their fans. And I mean, that does like, go to how passionate their fans are, which is great. I mean, we all want passionate fans, but I mean, they were leaving, some Canadian fans were leaving like bad messages on that kid's Instagram. And it was just like really, really, really disturbing to read.
Yeah.
Kid was facing. I mean, it's not like he lost on purpose. Who would lose on purpose?
No, exactly.
Sometimes
and it came out after the tournament that Comtois had an injury.
Yeah.
So they probably shouldn't have allowed him to take the penalty shot in the first place.
Right. And I mean, it's not his fault either that he was picked for the penalty shot. That's a new taken out on him when it's not like, the coach has the final say in that situation.
That's a rule just in international hockey where you can pick a player on the ice to take the penalty shot. If they went by the NHL rule, it would have been a defenseman taking the penalty shot.
Right.
And I'm just worried about how bad that would have gone.
Oh, yeah.
Either way, Comtois is the only member of the team who has a gold medal from last year.
So he gets the last laugh in all of this. I mean,
if you think about it, it's kind of stupid. He helped you win a tournament last year, and now you just turn on him. And
I just think it's really like cool. I mean, I don't know. I would hope that something changes. Obviously, the pressure that they put on their team isn't helping their team perform either. So when you look at it that way, it's like, do you guys want to win a gold medal? Okay, obviously you do. So maybe, lighten up just a little bit. There's nothing wrong with being passionate. There's nothing wrong with wanting your team to win. There's nothing wrong with getting pissed off if your team loses. But at the same time, like, there's a line there that you can't cross. When you start making personal attacks on these players who are just kids, this is like the Olympics. If there was professional players playing, or even if there wasn't professionals playing, at least they're grown adults, with careers and, lives in hockey or whatnot. But I mean, I don't know.
The only thing I obviously I agree with not telling, I'm not going to go into exactly what was said because I can't remember, and then I don't want to paraphrase either. So I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that was said, especially personally attacking him. Like, yeah, it's his fault that, he didn't score on a penalty shot in overtime. And then, basically then they end up losing. But, it's not his fault. It happens. It's hockey. We've all played the game and we've all watched the game and seen stuff the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. It's hockey. As far as like the pressure's not going away. And if the players think that it's going to go away when they get to the next level, it's not going away unless you're going to play in a place called Arizona or even Vegas where there's not really that much pressure. So at the next level, there's going to be more pressure playing at the next level. So, I mean, that's just the way I look at it. I know they're kids, but they're going to be adults very soon. And they're basically, almost 20 years old anyways. So they're going to have to learn how to deal with the pressure at some point. But nobody should have to deal with what Comtois had to deal with, people saying whatever to him.
The personal attacks.
Yeah, personal.
Are we glossing over how hard it is to score on a penalty shot? Like, seriously?
I know. All those fans are like making it seem like it's like the easiest thing in the world.
This isn't a penalty kick in soccer, which has a very high percentage of success. This is, the best players score 30-some% of the time. It's still less than half.
Not to mention the breakaway or the penalty shot, that Comtois had was against Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who played tremendous in the gold medal game, and he's a great goalie. I would be very surprised if that guy's not in the NHL at some point.
Yeah, no, it's just some soul searching that the Canadian fans need to, but definitely will not do.
Yeah.
I would also add really quick, not thinking about it. As far as when Canada played against Finland, they lost. Okay. Well, maybe Finland was just the better team. Sometimes it happens, the expectations are always so high for Canada to win year in and year out. But, sometimes they got to realize that sometimes there's a team that's just better than you. That's it.
Yeah.
Continuing with the upsets, I'm not sure if you were going to go into this, but Sweden lost to Switzerland in the quarterfinal, and that brings up another trend. Sweden has won 48 consecutive preliminary round games dating back to the 2007 tournament, and in that time they have one gold medal in 2012. So what's really going wrong for Sweden here in the medal rounds?
Well, I think I don't know exactly what it is, to be honest with you. If I had one guess, I would say that they choke under the pressure. I don't know. There's no other way to say it. I mean, what did you say it was? 41 consecutive 48 consecutive games. I mean, they kill it in the preliminary and they get to the medal rounds and they choke. It's like a team that does really well in the regular season in the NHL, and then they get to the playoffs and they can't hack it. That's the only way I can describe it.
No, I would definitely agree with that. That's perfect.
And they have
it's just baffling. Do they run out of gas, or do they see the increased pressure and fold under it? But it's been a pattern, and at the same time, I wonder how long this streak could go. They're in a group where next year where they could easily win all 4 games again, and then.
I'll tell you,
it's
one of the craziest streaks in all of sport. It's amazing that they haven't lost a preliminary round game since 2006. That's insanity.
That is really crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, they lost in 2000 in the tournament. Their last loss came to the U.S. on New Year's Eve 2006. Now, running through, here are some names. The guys who scored the goals for the U.S., they won 3-2 in overtime. Patrick Kane, Ryan Stoa, and Jack Johnson. That's how long ago it's been since Sweden lost in the preliminary round.
Although, Jake, that brings up another point. Like that, just you hearing those two names that you know, Jack Johnson and Patrick Kane, Ryan Stoa. Unfortunately, I don't think had much of an NHL career, if any. But that just amazes you how many players that you can go back over the years and see goal scorers and players on teams, and you can see them that they're either still playing at the next level or they're not. They played at the next level and they're retired. But there's so many players from this tournament that end up playing at the next level. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this tournament so great.
It does.
Just all the names that you see. This is really the best of the best. This is like our version of the NCAA March Madness basketball tournament.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good comparison for sure. I know, whenever I'm watching hockey and I see a player do something really good, whether it's make a save, if they're a goalie, or if they score a goal, I'll always think, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that name in the World Juniors a few years ago.
Yep. There's a lot of players even from last year's World Juniors. Robert Thomas is playing. Comtois played in the NHL a little bit this year. There's that
Brady
Tkachuk guy played. Brady Tkachuk. Yep.
Casey Middlestat.
There's a lot. I mean, and it just continues to get better because the league continues to get younger and younger.
I agree.
Which bodes well for a very entertaining product at the end of the day. So we want to touch on Finland winning, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, when I was going, I did some other podcasts before the tournament, and what we talked about had the 3 best teams were Canada, Finland, and the U.S., and Finland showed that they were a great team. Starting in goal, they had Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. They had great performances from Kaapo Kakko, lived up to the expectations, scored the winning goal. Alexei Heponiemi had a great tournament, I think tied for the lead in scoring. Finland was just a very good team, top to bottom, and under their longtime junior coach, Jussi Ahokas, they have now won 3 times in the past 6 years, and all 3 of those games were really late wins or overtime wins, or this one in the final minute. So Finland with a flair for the dramatic, good for them. They've had a great program for a long time, and they're getting rewarded for it. I have nothing against them.
Yep, I agree.
I agree.
Against Finland, I mean, they played a great game against us. They had a great tournament. They knocked off Team Canada, and obviously we slayed the dragon a few years ago where we knocked off Team Russia with the Troy Terry shootout winner. But the Russians still scare me. I don't know about you guys, but the Russians still do scare me when it comes to an elimination game and the United States has to play them.
All the time. They scare me.
So 6 straight years, Russia or the U.S. have eliminated the other. Russia eliminated the U.S. 2014, 2015, 2016. And the last 3 years, the U.S. has been the ones to eliminate Russia. So at least we're getting that monkey off our back, and I hope we don't play them again in the medal round next year because my heart cannot handle that.
I just feel like every year that it like always happens. We always end up having to face Russia, and it's like, oh my gosh, why? Why are we facing Russia? It's like they're getting revenge for like 1980 all over again, like every year. They won't let it go.
Even with the 3 straight wins, it still doesn't feel like we're out of the woods when it comes to Russia.
It doesn't. They're just intimidating.
I will say one thing about the Russians, and I don't know. I was listening to a podcast that I forget what podcast it was. I'll bring it up if I can remember. But they were talking about the Russian way of developing, and it feels like they're not developing like they once did. I just wanted to bring this up to you, Jake, because I was thinking this too. Like as I was watching the tournament, it's like the Russians are good, but it feels like they're not as good as they were even 5 years ago. Do you think it's the way of their working out? Because the way they work out is they skate like twice a day, and they're in the weight room for like 2 hours a day. It's like they're working their body like 4 hours a day when it comes to hockey, and it's almost like, are they doing way too much, and are they like kind of like stunting the growth of their players? Do you see that at all?
I'd have to do a deeper dive before really coming to a conclusion on that. But I will say this: they've had the same coach for this entire decade, Valeri Bragin, and no disrespect to Bragin, he seems to be a very good coach. He seems to have done a good job with the Russians. He got the gold medal in 2011.
Yeah.
But just from a U.S. perspective, when you have the same coach doesn't really do as well the second time around, and now that it's the 9th or 10th time around for Bragin, if I were Russia, I'd be looking at a change, trying to find a new junior coach.
I agree.
Yeah. I feel like they hit a plateau. Like they're always really good every year in and year out, yet they just don't have that extra something to get them, into the gold medal game to win the gold medal.
They always seem to have players I don't really know on the team. And this is every year. I just don't study the Russian league enough. But some of the decisions at times to people who know more about these things than I do are head scratchers to them. And they seem to play the same exact style every year. I wonder if teams have figured it out, because now it's been 8 tournaments since they won.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah. Well, the other thing that I kind of would say about the Russians too, it's like they underutilize some of their players. Like Klim Kostin is a really good player. It feels like they underutilized him. And last year, Andrei Svechnikov, who ended up going second overall, and they didn't use him like barely at all. Like it's just, to me, it doesn't make sense. It's almost like Valeri Bragin that's just stuck in the past. and it feels like they need a change.
Russia stuck in the past? I never would have imagined.
Oh God. All right. So is that all you guys have with the Finland winning?
Yeah, I think so.
That's all I have.
All right, so we're just gonna go into the last segment here. We'll talk about the groups. I'll just list them off. Group A is Canada, Russia, Czech Republic, Germany, and the United States. Group B is Finland, Sweden, Slovakia, Switzerland, and Kazakhstan.
The tournament next year will be held in Ostrava, Czech Republic.
Yep.
It is the first time this tournament has been held outside of North America since 2016. So,
I honestly like when the tournament is away from North America sometimes. Waking up hockey is like the greatest thing in the world.
That's so true.
well, yeah, especially this year because all of us are in the Eastern time zone and the games are in Victoria and Vancouver, so the games are at 10:30.
That wasn't bad either. I mean, I thought that was pretty good time. The worst is when it's in like Toronto or Montreal and the games are at like 3:00 and 4:00 in the afternoon and like nobody can watch. Like at least in the morning I can wake up early and watch the game, and then go to work or go to school or whatever.
Yeah, I get that.
The group Team USA is an absolute gauntlet. I mean, anytime the Russians, Canada, United States, and the Czech Republic you can back it up and take the Czech Republic out of it, and you have Canada, Russia, and the United States in the same group. I mean, that's just a total gauntlet, and whoever wins that group is going to be sitting real pretty.
All I'm saying is I feel really bad for Germany because they got brought up from the lower division, and now they're going to get – can I say this? They're going to get their shit kicked.
Yeah, they're going to send right back. They're going to get sent right back down. I hate to say it. The thing about this tournament that's cool, right, is like Germany for a while was – or not for a while, but for the few years that Leon Draisaitl was a NHL prospect, Leon Draisaitl, you wouldn't even have known much about him if he wasn't in the World Junior. And, lucky for Germany, they were in the top level of the World Junior Championship. So you could see Leon Draisaitl play, and you could see what type of special player he was going to become. And, if Germany would have been relegated and played in the B division, you wouldn't have heard much about Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, their big prospect for next year is Dominic Bach, who got picked 25th overall by St. Louis. He had 8 points in 5 games in the lower division this year. So I think next year it should be fun if the rest of his team cooperates a little bit and doesn't. Well, I don't see how this tournament goes well for Germany at all, but maybe Bach has a good tournament.
Yeah.
I just hope they have fun. Because they're in for one hell of a ride. That's right.
If they place higher than 4th, I will be very surprised.
Stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened, but if they're any higher than last, I'll be very, very, very surprised.
Yeah, Kazakhstan. Hey, good for Kazakhstan for staying up. They beat Denmark in the relegation series when people expected. Kazakhstan did not score a goal in the preliminary round, but they managed to stay up. Hey, good for them.
They won a game, didn't they?
No, I don't.
Did they go 0-4?
They went 0-4, but.
Did you see their Twitter account? The official Kazakhstan Twitter account tweeted their victory, and they like went crazy. Like there was a lot of favorites and retweets on that tweet. So they must have a pretty good, hockey following there.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think of Kazakhstan and hockey, I think of Nick Antropov.
I agree. Yeah. Nick Antropov. Oh God, that's going back a ways with Toronto Maple Leafs. Is that all we have tonight?
Well, no, I think we should preview a little bit more next year. I think the U.S. could do very well next year, and Jack Hughes, who is eligible to return at the next two tournaments, he won't be there next year. The only way he goes back to the World Juniors is if there's a lockout. But the U.S. I think, would be in pretty good shape for the next two tournaments. Returning Joel Farabee, who had a great tournament, Keandre Miller, Matthias Samuelson, Jack Drury, Oliver Wahlstrom. In goal, it'll be Spencer Knight the next two tournaments, who was the third goalie this year. And there are some other guys who are eligible for this year's draft, guys like Trevor Zegras, Alex Turcotte, Cam York, Matt Boldy, Arthur Kaliev, who I think could become household names in the U.S. for their performance at the next World Juniors. I am very excited because I think the U.S. could definitely get a gold medal or two coming up.
I agree. Yeah.
I would agree too. I mean, I just think it's cool that I guess you could consider the U.S. as favorites. Maybe not the number one favorite like Canada, but I mean, year in, year out, there is expectations on the team. You couldn't really say that, over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned this, but this is the fourth straight year the U.S. has won a medal at the World Juniors: bronze, gold, bronze, silver.
Mm-hmm.
The last four, and never happened before at the World Juniors for the U.S. So this is a big stepping stone, and credit to the late Jim Johansson for making this possible.
Yeah, it's too bad he left us so soon. He will be remembered for what he brought to USA Hockey and building the program and really building what we know now as a team that's a perennial, maybe not a favorite, but a perennial contender at any rate, and putting expectation on this team. And I just think that you can't really speak enough with what Jim Johansson did for USA Hockey. And, and you could just see it when he did pass away. All the NHL players that played at the development program or played in the World Juniors or, had something to do with USA Hockey, they spoke so many good things about Jim Johansson.
Yeah, I think it was Dylan Larkin who organized the fundraising exhibition game.
Yeah,
it was.
I didn't go there, but I would have liked to be there. It would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I didn't go either, unfortunately. That was at the USA Hockey Arena, right?
Right.
Is that in Plymouth now, or is that in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, it's in Plymouth.
Plymouth, okay, that's what
I've been there. It's a great facility they have there.
I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've not been there yet. I'd like to make a trip over there.
I hope to check it out. I'm the one that lives closest to the arena, and I can't even go. But
You should make it out there.
I know. I need to. I want to.
I was going to say, should we just leave this off with the U.S. is playing Team Canada, the women's team. It's a rematch of the gold medal game at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. I forget what date it is.
I think the 17th of February.
Oh, February 17th. Okay. So that should be interesting. I'll be interested to see who wins that game. Is that just an exhibition game, or is that like
it's part of a 3-game series, I think. 2 games in Canada, 1 in the U.S. But, the U.S. and Canada, they're obviously the top 2 teams in women's hockey, and they like to play each other as much as possible before the World Championships come up. So that'll be fun. I hope it's televised.
Yeah, the other thing we can touch on this just while we're on here because we don't get to talk a lot about USA Hockey and just in general. I would love to see in this next collective bargaining agreement with the National Hockey League if they could try to send the players to the Olympic Games again because last year without the NHL players in the Olympics, I would have rather watched the women's, and I did watch the women's over the men's.
Well, how about that women's final?
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Oh, this year, like that past year, I watched the women's final for sure, and I watched the women's games. The men's, I watched one game I think, and then oh man, it's so boring. Like there's no such.
I don't mean to disrespect the guys who certainly worked hard to get a chance to get chosen for that team, but it
Yeah.
just was not the same at all.
It's not. It's really and no hype. I mean, not on any team. I mean, Russia, or what was it called? The Olympic athletes under Russia, as they were known.
I mean, it was cool to watch that dude play. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. It was cool to watch Datsuk play. It was cool to see him win a gold medal. But other than that, I could not get into it at all. The women's hockey was definitely way better.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know. Gary Beck and whoever else is making these decisions is going to have to look in the mirror. They say they want to grow the game nationally and internationally. If you're going to do that, you have to go to the Olympic Games. You have to go to the Olympic Games and put that game on a national stage like that.
And plus, think about the players themselves. I mean, it would really suck if Austin Matthews never has a chance to win a gold medal for his country, or if Connor McDavid never has a chance to win a gold medal for his country. The list
All
goes
these
on and on.
players. Imagine how much damage they do on the Olympic stage. That would be a lot of fun to see.
Oh, it'd be so sick to watch.
Just looking at some of the articles last year before the Olympics, before they kicked off the opening ceremonies and stuff, there was people writing articles of what could have been and like these lineups and this and that and the other
It's
thing.
so
It's
fun
like,
to do.
are you serious? Like this, the NHL passed up this opportunity for some money, and I mean, I get some of the stuff. I understand like some of the reasoning, but it's just like it's not good enough. Like you want to grow the game on an international stage, but you don't want to put it on the biggest platform possible. It's ass backwards.
Totally agree.
But I mean, is there any chance they go, Jake? Do you think they'll go?
I think it's too early for me to say if I think that'll happen. I know the players want it, but I'm still probably a year from having an opinion on if they go or not.
Do you think there's going to be another World Cup of hockey?
I think so.
I agree. Yeah. See, here's the thing that bothers me about the World Cup of hockey, and this maybe you guys that don't care as much, but the United States uniforms in that World Cup of hockey, you're supposed to have the United States logo, the USA Hockey logo. Canada is supposed to have the Canadian Hockey logo. Sweden can't get away from the Tre Kroner, and Russia can't get away from the coat of arms on the front. So why does the United States think it's okay to like make some random logo, and same with Canada, and like I don't understand. And then on top of that all, it's like let's not have like a kids team. Let's do international hockey. Let's not make it a big gimmick.
If they still had the kids rules, McDavid and Matthews would still have to be on that team. So I don't think that's
that would be horrible for them. Too bad, guys. Still not of age.
I think if you're gonna do that tournament, you got to do it right, and you got to
make it like '96 again.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, and I feel like there's an appetite for international hockey, but you have to do it right. And if you do it right, just repeat what you're doing, and what needs to be done.
100%.
People definitely care about the international stage in hockey.
Yeah, I think the IIHF knows how to do international hockey way better than the NHL with the World Cup.
Because Jake, correct me if I'm wrong. When there was the World Cup of hockey in 96, and then I believe again in 2000, maybe 2002. No, that was the Olympic. 2004. Yeah. Okay, so in those, was that the IIHF that ran that? Because
no, actually, that was the NHL.
That was the NHL. Okay, so I don't understand how hard it is to just repeat what you did in 98 or 96.
Yeah, I don't know. There are people who are going to have to answer that question.
I mean, obviously, we're not here to be able to answer that question, but to see the NHL on an international stage, if it's not the Olympics, well, you better damn do the World Cup hockey every 4 years if you're not going to do the
Right.
Yeah. What made the Canada Cup so popular in its age, and then the 96 World Cup of Hockey, people forget right after the 96 World Cup of Hockey, the NHL and the Olympics came to an agreement. They played right then in Nagano in 98.
Right.
Yep. Well, hopefully we can get back to that, because last year watching the Olympics watching the Olympics in general is awesome. And not even just the hockey, but everything else. But then, watching the men's hockey and like just imagining what could have been with Austin Matthews and maybe Dylan Larkin and Jack Eichel and those guys on Team USA, and then McDavid for Canada. It's just like, you guys really passed up this opportunity.
I would have slapped myself if I had told myself that I would have been more excited for the men's curling final than the men's hockey final at the Olympics. But that's exactly what happened.
Yep. Well, I feel like that there's a way that if the NHL doesn't go, that maybe the IIHF and the Olympic Committee can maybe come to an agreement on making the tournament U20 and substituting the World Junior for it or something.
I'd rather make that like a U23.
Okay, that's fine.
Just to make it a little bit different from the World Juniors. Make it like soccer has at U23 at the Olympics. I think something like that would be fine.
Yeah, that would be totally fine with me, because then you would get the guys that are on the World Junior team, and then you could also get guys that weren't on the World Junior team last year, now are not eligible, but they'd still be eligible for this coming year.
I think there are a lot of ways you could do that, right? But I'm still hoping for NHL players.
I'm hoping for NHL players too, but I'm just saying if you can't get NHL players, you better get young guys, because watching those old guys and Brian Giunta and those, it's just like, okay.
Yeah. It just was a very dull, not exciting game. No offense to them, but it just wasn't what it should be.
No. I mean, think about it. The Olympics for any sport, it's the best of the best. And then you have men's hockey, and it's like, well, where's Sidney Crosby? Where's McDavid? Where's Matthews? Where's these guys? But
yep, we agree.
All right. Is there anything else, guys?
I don't think so.
All right. It was good to have you guys on, and it's good to always talk USA hockey with you guys and everything. Jake, you want to shout out your Twitter handle?
Yeah, I am Baskin Case, BASKIN CASE. You could follow my general shit posting and USA Hockey Talk, or you could follow my hopefully budding broadcasting career. Go Stratford Red Devils, and give me a follow. I'm trying to get to 4,000.
Kayla, shout out yours, please.
Yeah, you can follow me at K Loves Red Wings, KAYLUVS for the loves. And also, if you want, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is K Loves Hockey, LUVS again for the loves. And it's been a fun night though, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And you guys can follow me on Twitter at SealDog91. And I believe you'll be able to find this podcast on this YouTube channel. So, all right, guys. Good getting back together. Hopefully, we can do this again soon. Maybe during the summertime for the World Junior Showcase or something.
Oh yeah. Interesting to see where that is this year, because they're going back to the international ice.
Really?
Because it's in the Czech Republic.
True. Yeah. Right. Yeah, they are going back to the international ice. Yep. All right, guys.
All right, guys.
That was good talking to you guys.
Good show. Bye, guys.
Have a good night, guys.